What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another fun episode of Voodoo Monkey Garage. Yeah. I don't know. I'm in a little bit of a mood today. Hey, today we're working on this 2003 Jeep Grand Cherokee. We're going to be doing a full rear axle swap on this. Not the axle shafts. Well, we are swapping out the shafts because we need to. But the whole entire axle itself. Basically, this vehicle came in, we were doing a service on it, we did a trans oil and fill, we did the oil, no, we didn't even do an oil change because he had just done it. Did an air filter, front and rear diff fluid service, and when we pulled this rear diff apart, oh boy, look out. It was nasty. The pinion gear in there, which is the gear that comes through the back that the drive shaft attaches to, that thing was, let's just call it gone. I don't know how it drove here. Really, it's shredded. So the option is to put a whole new set of gears in here or find a junkyard that's got a good Dana 35 with 355 gears in it. And how do we know that? Because we found the tags on the rear axle that said exactly what it is. We have tags on the new axle that say exactly what it is. Or we could have counted the turns. But we found another one. And that took a little bit. And now we're going to swap out the whole thing because it's just easier. And more better that way. So while we're in here, we're also advise the customer of doing lower control arms. I also advise the customer of doing the upper, what I call the upper wishbone, but the upper control arm assembly. The ball socket, the ball joint up there is shot. The bushings are shot. These bushings are shot. Like, there's still life in them. Do we have to do them? No. But all that's got to pretty much come apart for us to do this job. So mazel. Here we are. So we're going to be swapping all the control arms, the uppers. We got to take this whole brake assembly out to get the emergency brake undone because it's pulled out of the new axle. We have completely stripped down the new axle over there on Guido. We've already put new bearings and seals on those axle shafts because they were leaking. We're pretty much ready to stab this back in. So that being said, the first thing you're going to do, I'm going to run you through a couple of the steps you have to do, and you may or may not see me doing those steps. I don't know, because I'm just going to rip and shred. I got like 2 hours right now, and then we got to get to church. So first thing we're going to need to do is come underneath here. We're going to pull the drive shaft, so you're just going to pull these two straps, or top and bottom. That'll pop right out. We'll slide it out of the transfer case, which we just freshly filled. Yay! And hopefully it doesn't leak a ton. So get the drive shaft off, obviously, because it's attached to the rear axle. There are two ways to pull your emergency brake cable or your parking brake cable. You can go up inside the vehicle, and there's clips and little doodads up inside there, or you can push them through here. We're not going to do it that way because we already have the backing plates and everything off of the other axle. So we're actually going to disconnect it from behind where it goes through into the drum hat. This is called a drum hat, by the way, guys, just so you know. It's called a drum hat because it has your rotor assembly on the outside and then your parking brakes on the inside on a drum. So it looks like a hat. And we are dumb mechanics, so we just call them what we see. So we're going to pull that apart, get all the drum brakes have to completely come apart, all the brake shoes, so we can get to that emergency brake cable and pop that out of the back side of this. We're going to take these backing plates and put them on that axle because that axle had some beat up backing plates. So we're doing that. We're going to swap over these rotors and these pads to that axle. This is all loose because I've already released the tension on the pads. Springs will come out, lower shocks will come out. We can leave the shocks dangling. I already took the sway bar, just kind of disconnected it so it can wobbly down right here. And yeah, it looks like they got a 2-inch lift puck on here, so we'll swap that over. And then we'll just disconnect brake lines at the top. We'll leave all the hard lines, but we'll disconnect all the soft lines. Swap over the calipers. We'll eventually have to bleed the system and so on and so forth and whatnot and who's it's. So that's what we're going to do. You're going to see me rip and shred on this as much as I can and see what we can get accomplished in a short amount of time to get this done. But basically, you guys are smart. Look around. You know, I'll let you know. I'll try and let you guys know what sizes things are too as we're going. Like for instance, these caliper bolts are a whatever that is. It's a H7. Yeah, H7 Allen. So that's just going to be what that is. And those are the two caliper bolts on the back. They decided to put Allens instead of regular bolts. That's fine. and then we'll walk you through and let you know what bolt sizes all of this are. If there's any parts or pieces that are needed, we'll try to let you know the part numbers as we're doing this, so maybe it'll help you along with what you're doing. All right, let me get to work because we got a limited amount of time and the dogs are howling, so they're telling me to shut up and get to work. Drive line, 8mm. Wow. Well, right then. You want to pull it out? Yeah, laying on top of the exhaust, so it just falls on me one day. Like, yeah. There we go, perfect. Bam. Just trying to decide like what order I want to do this, because I don't even know. Guess I'll get all the brakes apart and get the axle shafts out, so I can forget how to do that later. You know, one of those things that you do and then you're like, how did that go back together? Because you don't do them all the time. The parking brake assembly, it's like tucked behind a corner. That's that 7er. Yep. I don't know if that H7 means 7mm. Yeah, looks like 7mm. Why not? Get wire clippy guys right there. They just pop right out. So I'll show you guys this real quick to get the caliper off. Got a hard line coming across the axle right here. And then you got your line coming in to the rubber line. This guy here should be a 3/8. Try to get a line wrench on it if you can, so you're hugging more of that. And then remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So we just want to find a good spot where we can grab onto that all the way, and it slides on. And if we can, we want to try to do more of a jerky motion like that, and it came free. So once we unthread that, I don't want to unthread it too much right now because I want to get the brake line, the master line coming in, pinched off so we're not leaking a ton. So we'll pull this line off right here, and then there's this little clip right here. You'll just pop that out. You'll see me pop that out here in a minute, and that'll allow this brake rubber line to come free, and we can take the whole brake caliper out of here, and then we'll reattach everything when we come back later. Pretty simple stuff. There we go. That ought to do nothing as we're dripping right here. Perfect. Brake line's off. Here's our little clippy guy right here. You see that little lip right there? Usually I could just use a shock. Nope. Oh, is that one like rusted in there? It shouldn't be. We don't have rust in there. So it says Arizona. Why? How would that be rusted? Oh, it is in there. Just had to tell it who's boss, you know. That's the clip that comes out, and then that allows for a brake caliper line to come right out. Now what I want to do is, I'm not going to put everything on the cart because I want to remember what went to what side, because we're going to be reusing rotors and pads and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and just set everything on the side of the vehicle that I pulled it off of. You don't have to, but you know, when you're using used components, it is nice to just kind of keep things where they are, man. Things get used to like positioning and clocking, and again, you don't have to, but I like to do that personally, and I found it has eliminated a lot of potential issues. Now, probably less talking, more working, I know. We're gonna see if this is gonna let me in there and see if this gun will get it. Probably if I had a Milwaukee, it would work just fine, I'm sure. But there's just 2 bolts on the back of the mounting bracket here. There's one. 17mm. Oh, don't get in the way there, Mr. Exhaust. Okay, I got a plan for you. Brain socket is in a different realm today. I'm being 100% honest with you guys. I didn't want to work on stuff today, but Drew said I had to. He yelled at me. He literally yelled at me. This is your caliper mounting bracket. See if this will come off. This is why they call it a drum hat, because there's your drum inside the hat. Perfect. I'm ready for the dance. Mash, eh? Now for the fun part. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the axle out, because then that allows me to see a lot more of this more better and easier. Because last time I did it with the axle in. So now you guys get to see an axle coming out. Some of these axle shafts at the end will have a C-clip. Those are a floating axle. They go into a housing. They get supported by a bearing out here. And it floats through. There's a C-clip. You pull that, you push the axle in, pull that little C-clip out that gets dropped into everything all the time, and then boom, the whole axle comes out. This one, on the other hand, is not. This is not a C-clip axle. This is held in by backing plates and all that stuff. So on the back side, we got 4 bolts, 4 nuts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's a square housing. And we just got to pull all 4 of those off, and then put the slide hammer on, and it'll take everything out at one assembly, and it'll be happy. So we can definitely do that. Hear that? That's not the sound of a good, happy axle. All right, I'm gonna pull those that's off, folks. I'm gonna pull those 4 nuts off, and I'm also gonna take, just to be careful, we have a sensor back here. We're gonna pull that guy off, 10mm bolt, and I think these were 14s if I remember right. But 10mm right there, and we'll pull that carefully, pull that sensor out. Carefully now. Oh, I lied to you guys again. It's an 8. All right, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this sensor right here, our speed sensor, our ABS sensor, I don't know what it is. It's a sensor, it's in my way. 8mm socket, just a single bolt. Pull that guy out. What are you, there, see? And we got that out. And we'll clean that before we put it back in. But that guy's out of our way now. So I'm just gonna go around and loosen all these to make my life a little bit easier. Who needs a gym when you have Jeeps? That should make life a little bit easier, hopefully. Ow. Oh yeah, that was nice. Da, 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 da. You are. Now that all those are loose, we can take this axle shaft out. Okay. It's not gonna come out nice. I told you guys that earlier. All right, we got this little doodabber. Looks like that. Looks like a Bigfoot's footprint. Comes with most pullers. Just thread that guy on there. Stick it on here. We'll grab a couple of our lug nuts. Stick these guys on here. These don't have to be hammered on. You don't need your gun for it. Ooh, I said a bad word on YouTube. Gun. This should come right out. Don't make a liar out of me. Ha! I'm an honest man. See? See how easy that was? Hercules! All right. And there's your axle shaft. Which actually, the splines don't look bad on this one. This might be a marketplace item. Deal with a whole bunch of people so we can make $5. Makes no sense. See what I did there? Dollars and cents. Dad jokes. Okay. What we're after, ultimately, is getting this guy off of here. Because this is what our emergency brake, parking brake. I keep calling it emergency brake. That's what they call them on old cars. New cars, it's not an emergency brake. It will most likely not help you in an emergency, as a matter of fact. But in order to do that, well, we just got to take everything off of here. We came up with these little fancy little clips. And then the pin comes out of the back, just like any other drum brake assembly. Now we just got to get these springs off, and that'll give me my shoes. You like my shoes? I like my suitcase. And actually we could probably just pull the one spring off now that I'm looking at this more better, and get that out of there. So if you think you might forget, just put it back together. And then that way, if you forget, you put an example as it flies apart. You wouldn't come apart earlier. now we got all that apart, we're gonna figure out how this guy comes apart, which is pretty easy. So you're just gonna lift up on that, rotate this down, and that frees up that whole guy. Simple enough, right? If we look on the back side here, we've got a keeper that holds that cable on. So we'll undo this guy, and that'll allow me to pull this cable right out. There's nothing that holds it in the back other than just tension, and everything's good. So we'll pull all these keepers off, and that'll come right out. That's a 10mm, by the way. I'm gonna keep saying that until I'm right. Where'd my 10mm socket go, dude? It is a 10mm, it's supposed to be missing. That should allow me to just pull all that free. And there we go. Sensor, parking brake, and we're good. This guy here now can negotiate. A little negotiation here. There we go. Just a little persuasion. Gets that guy off of there. I think I'm gonna wait to pull the shock and the control arms and everything until I'm ready to actually drop the axle. So I'm gonna go do the same thing on the other side. We'll get all this apart on the other side and make that part happy. And then we're gonna check a little time to see where we're at and see if I gotta go or not. You know, there's young lads up at the church that are waiting for me to be there when I get there. That's how that works. Okay, bye. So we're gonna try something a little bit different on this side. You can leave all this together. How fun is that? So you can just dangle all this and get it out of your way and swap out the axle. We're gonna be doing the full control arms. So I just have to remember to make sure this is above the control arm. Otherwise I'm gonna have a fun time fishing it through. There's room to do it, but look at that. We left all the brakes together. That kind of happened by accident. And I was like, holy crap, it looks like it actually happened that way. So pull a couple of these mounting bracket bolts out of my way for the for all the brake lines and everything. And keep hammering away at this thing. See if this will let me go. Nope. What size are those anyways? 13s? 13s. So 13 mil pulls those off. So far we've used a 10, an 8, a 13, and a 14. How fun is that? We can't just make up our minds, can we? But that's alright. We don't need to make up minds. We just need to make up things to go together and piss off people trying to work on them, you know? That's what the engineer's job is, I'm telling you. Alright, so those are out of the way now. Look at that, we're getting closer, guys. We're getting closer. We got both axle shafts out. Again, you don't always have to do this. If you got an axle that is sealed, like this one was clean, not leaking, you can just swap the axle straight over. At that point, you're going to do your parking brake from up underneath inside, and everything else will just swap right over. But well, we didn't have that luxury here. We get to do the extra work. Yay! Cool. I am going to start pulling shock towers, but I've got to clear off my cart. I'm going to put jack stands underneath it to support this axle, and then we can pull the lower control arm, the shock tower, the upper, and get it all completely out and make everything happy. What do you think? You guys down with that? Cool. Glad we agree. All right. Now, before I do that, I'm gonna loosen up our main brake line. I looked at my other one, and it's got this brake line that we pinched off, and this is a whole block on this side that I don't really want to pull apart. So we're gonna loosen up this main brake line. We're not gonna take it completely off yet. I'm just gonna loosen it while I kind of got it here, because this is gonna squat down some more, and I don't really feel like squatting trying to loosen that. So we're gonna get that loosened up and ready to go, and we'll pull these two brackets off of here, which look to be 10mm bolts, and that'll free up this whole main brake line, because the new axle will have this whole brake line in it. So we'll just swap that over all the way up here by the inside of the frame, and just swap out that main line, because we're gonna be bleeding this whole system anyways. The bleeding system. And I do this because I want to show you guys, if you're new to working on cars and all that stuff, again, like, and it's a lot of, I mean, you're taking a lot of stuff apart, then you got to remember how it all goes. And if you haven't done it a ton, sometimes that can be a little overwhelming. Just put your bolts right back in the hole so you know, and then you can look at this and go, wait, there's 2 bolts that are halfway in and it's not holding something. What goes there? Oh, that goes there. And it helps you to remember later. So that frees up all of our brake stuff all the way back to here. We'll get that later. Control arm, shocks, springs, upper control arm. We'll just pull the bolts here. On this side, we do have a heat shield on the other side. We're just going to bend that heat shield down a little bit so we can access the other upper bolt. We're going to leave this whole wishbone on here and take it all apart as one piece, and then we can work on it on the ground. I might just pull these rear control arms too and just leave everything as one piece and try to take the whole assembly out, because all of that's getting replaced. We can go get the new pieces and we can just hang them in here, the new control arm, the new upper wishbone, and then we can stab it all together and make it all nice and happy, slappy, crappy like. So let's get after it. All right. By the way, the upper bolts are 15 mil. I'll pull those real quick, and then we're going to lower the Jeep down. I'll pull the shocks, and I'll pull the rear, or I guess front mount bolts off of this, and that should give me the whole axle. Once we pull the shocks, we can lift it up a little bit and pull the springs out so they don't go flying everywhere. Nice short bolts for you. Put those right there. Okay, or right there. We'll lower this down. We'll set it on top of these jack stands. I put them nice and low so that we can make sure that you know, there's room to lift the Jeep back up off of it. Come close, line them up, make sure you're pretty good. Dang, I'm good, man. Shoot, that was any better? Wow. So those uppers were a 15. The shock towers, guys, are gonna be a 18. Oh, well, I guess that makes a lot of sense. Haha, that nut's welded on. Okay, well then, fine. Be that way, see if I care. All right, one shock out of the way. We'll get the other side. And there you go. Haha, we almost died. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna lift up on the Jeep a little bit so we can get the springs out, and then we'll pull those upper mounts, or upper bolts. Well, lift kits are so much fun, especially blocks. And they're just a puck. What the puck? There we go. They were just in there. That's just Arizona heat for you. Bakes everything. We'll go ahead and set the axle back down on there, and we'll go ahead and unbolt all this. And hopefully this upper just comes right out. We'll see, huh? Let's see if we can access that with the gun. 20 mil. Same on the other side. It looks just the same over there. Let's see if Jeep gave us enough room to do this without taking the top one off. I don't know. Looks like we might be hitting exhaust, but we're gonna see. Yep, I think we're gonna hit the exhaust on the other side. I'm gonna pull this upper bolt for the upper ball joint. And yes, they call it a ball joint. Let's see if that'll let that come out. I don't know. Might have to get a little creative on some tapping with a hammer or something, but we'll see. I can get that upper bolt out. If it won't come out, I can pull this plate off. And there's 3 bolts that hold the plate on. And they're all Loctited in, but we're gonna see if we can get the upper. And then we'll bring you guys back. So you hear that bolt? That was weird. Making some barking noises. Made some real weird barking noises, that bolt did. I'm telling you.
They're called the duck bolt?
The duck bolt. Whack. Alright, well you guys missed it, but Drew is helping me out and the thing just kind of, it's going to roll. You know that's going to happen. All the weight's of the pinion there, so it's just going to roll, but that's why you have those little cups on the jack stands. We got everything out. All you got to do is pull that one brake line that we had left. We could pull that ahead of time. You can, and I actually recommend it. I just didn't because I'm trying to have as little time of that dripping on the ground as I possibly can. So I probably should have pulled it ahead of time. But I got the brake line off. Now we just got to pull the keeper, which is not going to be fun because there's nothing to pry against. All right, simple as that. And that all comes out, and then that just sits there and drips. If you want, you can put a bag over it or a rag under it. It's up to you. Or you can let it drip on your head, however you like. But there you have it. One removed axle. How about that? Catch me outside. All right. I'm going to hang the new control arms, I think, in their houses up there. And then we'll fight them into here. We're going to have to remove these bolts anyways because I need them. And we're going to get these pucks out of here so he can have his lift back. And yeah. We'll put this empty axle tube up there in just a second once we get these guys hanging. Perfect. All right, so what we're going to do is also something else to look at is your other axle. So come over here. The axle you took out, you see where your bushing orientation is. The ridge of the bushing is on the outside. And then if we look, the round bushing's there. The oval bushing actually mounts to the axle. So make sure you're getting your orientation right. We're looking at these and they look okay, but when we pull that one off, you'll see it's completely torn. And it's a different design where this is a solid here. And that one's a little slightly different design in there. You'll see it when we pull it. Another thing to show you is when it all fell out, that's for the upper. It ain't supposed to do that. They're a one piece, not a two piece. So round side goes on the truck itself. Orientation is the ridge towards the outside of the vehicle. There is no right and left on these lower control arms, but we'll go ahead and just loosely set these in here. And we'll get things started. We'll just let them kind of dangle there. We'll get both sides mounted, and then we'll get pretty close to getting ready to slam the new axle up in here. Cool? All right, so you guys can see the bushing's pretty torn. We're in here. It's already completely torn there. It's tearing there. It's all rotted. Like, it's ready to go. So it was time to change them while we were in here. So why not? Don't forget your orientation of the bolts, how they went, and where they went. That's always helpful. At this point, we can lift this axle off of here. We can set the new one on, and I think we can go up in there with it. All right, we just went ahead and, because I'm on a little bit of a time crunch, but we went ahead and just kind of put this in here real quick. I'll share with you what we did because it's kind of fun. So what I did is I came in and I hung the lower control arms from here. And then I went ahead and I assembled the upper ball joint and upper control arm bracket Y thingy, because Y, that's why they call it that. And then swung the new axle over. I went ahead and installed the back ones. What I did is I just set it up on the cart there with two jack stands like you guys saw taking it out. I think they saw that, right? Mm-hmm. Sure. Just put this on the same thing, jack stands, lowered the Jeep down. Took a pry bar on these brackets here and just kind of pried them open a little bit. So it's one of the things I recommend on all these brackets. If you can open them up a little bit, it makes things go in so much easier. Down here, did the same thing. Took the old wackadoodles and hit that and opened that up a little bit. You're trying to fight these in after they've been pinched. You're going to be fighting, so open them up a little bit. It's okay. They'll pinch back in when you bolt them. So we just let this dangle here, loose bolts. They're still loose. I haven't tightened anything yet. Got the upper in. Found out you have to lower the Jeep way down because you have to have that almost perfectly level to get that lined up and then put those 15 mils back in. Brought the Jeep back up a little bit, lined up the lowers. Just had to pull the axle in, put the bolt through. That went just fine. Actually, everything's gone through really easy. Once we had the upper and lowers in, what we did is we put a jack stand underneath the one side, brought it. You can see here we have it on angle iron to support the edges so it's not bending the crap out of my cart. So put the feet on angle iron, set the cart underneath, lowered the Jeep down right here on the furthest point away, not on the outside race, but on the furthest point away on one side, because what that does is it pulls the other side down. Put the spring in, pick the Jeep back up, came to the other side, collapse that spring. You can actually get the first side done just by pulling on it and putting the spring in. You don't have to do the cart. But getting the second side done, use the cart or set it on the ground with the jack stand far out and try and lower that down and allow the suspension to work for you. Just use science things, you know? Science. Push down on this side or push up on this side, that side's gonna go down. So we squatted this spring and that side went down. We were able to get the spring in. Make sure you orient it right. There is an orientation to the springs. And then we went ahead and did the same thing. We squatted it with the jack stand here to line up our shocks. If you don't have all the jack stands and doodads and you're held up by the frame back here, you can use a floor jack to do the same thing. You're just going to swap sides with the floor jack and jack up one side, yada yada. And then you'll need to jack this up just a little bit, get your bolt lined up, get your shock in. It's okay if you go too far, you can always collapse the shock. You just can't stretch it more and get your shock back in. We did make sure that this line here, we're going to get it all tied up. We'll move it around the way it needs to go. And I just put the brake line on, closed it off, so that way it's not dripping anymore. We pinched it off again. So I'm getting to a stopping point here because I've got to get going. But we'll finish this up tomorrow. We'll get all this. We'll make sure all these lines are laying on the exhaust and, you know, good and melty like. And what we'll do is we'll get the axles in and everything probably tomorrow or the next day, whenever we got a chance here. And we'll get this all buttoned up. But I'm happy. Went a lot smoother than I thought it would be. If you just do it right, hang these, keep everything loose, it's a lot easier to align the axle to the arm than it is the arm to the truck. So hang the truck, align your axle, get that, you can shift that axle around real easy. And these go in very, very simple. A little tap and they go right in. So really didn't have a lot of troubles getting this in. Sometimes things are a real bear to get back in, but this one, not so much. So it's all about just kind of bolting things together now. I'll probably slam the drive shaft in real quick just so it doesn't fall. Inspect everything. I'm gonna clean up for the night. Just put things off to the side and we'll come back in and we'll stab everything back. Mañana. We'll let you guys see the rest of it as we're putting brakes and everything back on here. Should be easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. And she's done. All right. I gotta go. Later. All right, guys. Whole new day. Whole new day. What do you know? We got church done last night. That was good. So we're here on a whole new day doing this. Stabbing the axles back in. I was just kind of going around and doing stuff, and again, as usual, and well, missed the whole other side going together. Oh, and that's okay. You guys don't need to see that. You're gonna see this side go together. So we got our axle shaft in. As a matter of fact, where is my race? Okay, cool. It's on there. Perfect. So we got the outer race on the shaft. We've got everything cleaned in here, inside where the axle tube is. I will show you guys this on the axle shaft. When you have this backing plate, there is a notch. If you look here on your backing plate, you've got a little hole. That's where your sensor goes through. Your notch needs to line up with that hole. I will tell you this, if you're taking this apart, don't take this apart. And if you do, put it back together before you put your axle back in. This whole assembly is a pain in the backside. Once the axle's in, this brake assembly is a nightmare. Just do yourself a favor and don't. Just don't. That's all I'm gonna say. So we're gonna slide our axle shaft in carefully now, because there's another seal in there. Remember, this notch needs to line up with that hole. These holes need to line up somewhere over here, like that. And then we'll bring this in. I'm gonna push down on the axle a little bit so we don't mess up that seal or anything else that's in there. And we're gonna find those gears, and then we're gonna find all this. So we're gonna find that Jeep. On this Jeep, man, they really made it a pain, because you gotta line up so many things at one time that it really is not fun. I'll just tell you right now, it's a nightmare. Move my sensor out of the way, and then we can start going in. This bearing and this race all need to line up here, and then everything needs to line up back here, and we can hopefully, with any luck, get that to go in. It's not always the easiest because everything wants to fall and kind of do what it wants to do, but just be patient with it. If you have to, cuss at it a little bit. You know, it'll go eventually. Now we're getting somewhere, I think. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're starting to line up some stuff, I think. I don't know why that's not wanting to go. Oh, we're getting hung up right there. Well, I mean, that's just dumb. Just dumb. Dumb, I tell you. There we go. Oh, easy as that. By the way, if you have a local O'Reilly's, they might have some of these for you. Kind of a cool little tray. Pink. They go flat. They pop out. Not an advertisement for O'Reilly's. Not a sponsor. Could be if they wanted to. But we snagged a bunch of those from them. Because, you know, free is free. And we all like free. Alright. All of your little Ford nuts go on the back. Right from where you took them off. And I'll show you this. 2 easy ways. One side's going to be chrome from where it's been rubbing. The other side's going to have a taper to it. These are kind of a locking nut. So don't put the taper on the inside. Put the taper towards the outside. So the bolts can do their job. You know? Shiny part in, taper out. Pretty simple stuff. It's the way it came off, but in case you forgot, now you know. Because if you don't know, then now you know. I'm going to bolt this all together. If you want to, you can go ahead and get this in here and tap it with a hammer if you want. That'll kind of seat that inner race. Just bang on here, don't hit any of your studs. And just pull everything together. This will pull together. Some of you may be quite obvious or able to see things. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but essentially I left all of these bolts loose. So the control arm bolts and these upper control arm bolts here I have left loose, and I've done that on purpose. Every time I do suspension, I like to tighten all of the pivot points when it's sitting under load. Basically when the Jeep is on the ground, wheels and tires, everything back together. We'll set this on the ground and then we'll hammer everything home. I found that when you build these things, you put them back together, if you tighten everything with it extended, then when you sit on the ground, it can tend to create a squeak point. And you want it at ride height, at normal riding location when you tighten all your suspension bolts. So it's okay that all this is loose. I do have shocks loose. I mean, the shocks tightened. Everything else is tightened. The upper ball joint, upper plate, because the ball joint pivots on its own. This pivots on in that rubber grommet bracket, and we don't want to pinch something together and create a pinch point. So we'll do all that at ride height, because then it has its normal flex on the highway. So if that made any sense at all, I don't know. Don't really care. It makes sense to me, and that's how I do it. So that's how you should do it too, because, well, it's the right way, like it or not. It's not the left way, it's the right way. So we'll finish bolting this together. We'll bring you guys back as we're well, finishing it up. We'll put the brake caliper mounting bracket back on, put the rotor back on. Actually, rotor, then brake caliper mounting bracket, brake caliper, reattach our brake line, throw our sensor in, bolt that back in together. We got a little bracket. Make sure you're putting all of your little brackets back together. You can see back here. Don't forget, you got a bracket right here that holds that guy in. And that just kind of keeps everything happy. So make sure you're putting all that together. Tighten up all your lines. You should be working. All we got to do is tighten a couple bolts and bleed this thing up and fill the rear differential. Don't forget about that one, or we'd be right back in the same spot again, and this time it would be my fault. That's not happening. Nope. All right, I'm gonna finish this up while you guys go and have a beer or something. All right, we got the backing plate, we got everything mounted up, all 4 of those nuts tightened up. The torque setting is click, yes. We went ahead and put the sensor in, that 8mm bolt that holds our sensor in. Now we're gonna put our brake caliper mounting bracket in, 18mm snocket to mount that guy in. Yeah, I know, big old extension, right? Click, and you know, click. Yep, just let that just kind of dance around and do its thing. And we'll just leave that right there because that's a good spot for it. Don't forget about your brake caliper now. That's kind of an important thing, but you know what? You guys are right. I did something completely backwards and wrong because, again, my brain is not completely here right now. Wow, why didn't you guys tell me before I did this? Oh, man, you guys, I'm telling you. I rely on you guys for one thing, and you couldn't even give it to me. I just need to put the rotor in. The rotor's got to go on first, guys. You know that. You guys all know that. Every one of you. And none of you stop me from doing this right now. I just really disappointed in every one of you. As a matter of fact, you should be subscribed, and that would make up for you not telling me to put the rotor on first. You know? I don't care how good you are. Sometimes you just get to that point where you're just sick and tired of a job. I thought that looked way too easy, by the way. Something was like, why can you see all that? Because I shouldn't have been able to see it all. But I could. So I just went ahead and did what I wanted to do anyways. Because it seems like, you know, should be able to just pull a rotor on and off without having to pull more bolts than what's necessary. But the hell do I know? You know? So we'll put these back on. Click. And yes, I'll come back around and I'll check them. Don't you fret none. Don't you worry. You probably are worried actually, because, well, the guy just tried to put this bracket on without having it right the first time. I don't know. Just, you know, sometimes that's just part of life. You just, you know, mess up. And that's okay. You know? Yep, our little Allen 7ers. We'll just kind of, I use the socket to help me get my fat sausages in here and try and line all this up. I'm not just going to hammer it home with the gun, because these little brake parts sometimes are sensitive, little butterflies. And sometimes they like to line up and sometimes they just don't, and that's okay. All right, bring your brake line through. These are keyed, so there will be a spot, a flat spot on your brake line that'll fit. Or this one's actually hexagonal, so it will fit in there some way or another. Before I put my clip back on there, I'm going to use the opportunity to have this loose to just realign everything. Because remember, these are different brake lines from the new axle going on to old brake lines, and we want to get everything lined up as best as possible so that we're not cross-threading everything. You don't have to get it all the way threaded, because we'll finish threading it once we lock this guy down. So we'll get that into its spot. We'll take our little keeper guy and we'll throw that guy back in there. And, you know, 3/8 line wrench, bring that back in here, tighten this guy up all the way now, all the way until it strips out. And then you know it's tight when it strips out, you know. It's just how you know. When a bolt breaks, you know it's tight enough. Makes sense to me. I don't know. And that's how we get that part all back together. We're about ready to put wheels and tires on. One of the pieces that you don't want to forget is your little freaking springy guy to go in here. Just gonna fit all wobbly like inside your caliper. It'll slide down in the hole, sit underneath that bracket. It'll slide down in this other hole, sit down below that bracket. And that does something for someone, somewhere, somehow. And I don't know, but it's supposed to be there. Don't ask me what it does. It does something. Just put it there. Okay? I think that's about it. We're gonna tighten down this other brake line. Actually, we can take our little clampadoodles off now that we got everything connected. We'll tighten down the line up in there because we haven't done that yet. And make sure that everything is good and happy. And, you know, start getting ready to set her on the ground. Oh, we did do that. Wow! I'm way ahead of myself. Yeah, this is why I don't like doing things the next day. Because sometimes I forget. Don't forget to mount all your brackets and everything up on here. Some of them, I don't know, this one won't allow me to mount. This new thing came with an unthreaded hole. So we're gonna see what we can do about that. We'll either have to make a self-tapping bolt. I might just go get a bolt that's slightly larger than that hole, cut a notch in it, make it into a self-tapper, and just hammer it home. Because all it's doing is holding a bracket. So we'll figure that out and what we're gonna do about that one. Got one more bolt to put in here for the bracket, and tighten everything up, send her home, get her out of here. So we'll work through that you don't know how to fill up a rear diff, pull the plug right here. See if it'll let me pull it. I don't know. Should be able to just pull the little fill plug. It's just a little rubber bung. You'll just squirt fluid in until it just leaks out. Some people like to go just below the line with the pinky. I come until it just leaks out, and then put your plug back in and you're full. Simple as that. We'll put the axle tags back on that axle as well. That way the next person that gets in here knows what they're working with. And we should be good to go. I think so. So we'll let you know. We'll get it up back on the ground. We'll tighten everything up. We'll bring you back for that. All right, get out of my face, would you? Jeez, trying to get stuff done around here. Okay, so I want to show you guys this real quick. We have a bracket. We have this new control arm or Y arm or whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you want to call it. Problem is, some of these holes are threaded and some of them are not. And they're supposed to be threading in that hole. So what I've decided to do is I drilled out the bracket to make a little bit larger hole to accommodate a larger bolt. And then this is something you guys can do. If you, we're just gonna create threads. So instead of going and finding a drill and a tap and all that stuff, because it's pretty thin anyways, so I'm basically making a self-tapper, you can cut a notch in the bolt, like that. So just take your grinder, I cut a notch at an angle, and what that will do is as it's going in, it'll actually create its threads. This is no more than a self-tapper. So you can do the same thing. It's gonna feel weird because an airplane's flying over, but you can literally just put it in there, and we're gonna line it up in that hole. And we're gonna try and start it just a little bit, but we're gonna actually, because this is just large enough for that hole, we're just gonna take an impact gun and hammer it in. And it should work. So I don't know if I want you guys watching this part, but you're going to probably anyways, because Drew's got the camera. And if you have to, you can tap it outside. This one's just in a weird spot because that bracket's right in the way. I try to just tap it one time. I prefer to not have it out and have to start over again. I prefer to have it in the bracket, but and what that'll do is start just cutting those threads, and it'll bring it right up into where it needs to be. So now we can line up the rest of the bracket. We'll get this in here somehow with that bracket lined up in the little keyway. And you can see how that worked. So essentially the proper bolt wouldn't fit in because it wasn't threaded, so we made a self-tapper out of a slightly larger bolt and just crammed it home. At the end of the day, I wouldn't do that for your braking system or anything like that, but to hold up a bracket, look, it's not going anywhere. That ain't going nowhere. So we can do that here, and we can hold up that bracket. This one is slightly loose also, but I'm not worried about it because it's on a hard line that's got two brackets holding it, and it's hanging in there. This other side was threaded, like it was supposed to be. I don't know, man. Someone's got to call and talk to the Chinese and get them to get this right, because it wasn't right. So yeah, well, we're gonna be tightening that up. I think what I'm gonna do, instead of putting the wheels and tires on this to make my life easier and access bolts easier, I'm gonna set this back down on jack stands on the ground, put the full weight of the vehicle on it, so all the suspension is at right height, and then I'm gonna come through and tighten up all the suspension. We'll bring it back up and we'll fill it up, and cross our fingers that it all works. I mean, I'm not really a mechanic. I just play one on TV, you know? Whatever. One of the things that I would suggest that I didn't do, while you have the axle out, you can reseal this. It makes a lot, at least clean it. Why not pull it all apart and clean everything? It's a pain in the ass to clean when it's up here. So while you have this axle out, go ahead and pull your diff cover and clean the whole differential all around where everything's gonna seal. We went ahead and did that. I used one of my favorite tools, the old Whizzy wheel, and cleaned all that, cleaned the cover real good, cleaned the magnet, cleaned everything, put the tags back on the axle so that they're there for the next guy. It went ahead and put a bead of silicone, that's all these take. There isn't a gasket. You're just gonna put a nice little bead of silicone, smooth it out with your finger, make sure all the surfaces are covered, and carefully put it on there to not get any silicone on the gears. And then you see silicone. And then let it sit for a little bit before you fill it. So we're gonna let this sit for a minute, and then we'll get in here and we'll fill it with some gear oil until she just splooges out a little bit. I went ahead and already set this down on jack stands, tightened all of my bolts. before putting the wheels and tires on. That way I have easier access to everything. So I just put a jack stand underneath both sides, put all the weight of the vehicle on it, bounced on the back a little bit, and then set everything in place. So everything should be nice and tight. Everything should be in place. Everything should be happy. All we got to do is fill this up, bleed the brakes, and we got ourselves a rolling vehicle again. So with all that said, I just want to say, personally, thank you guys for watching the video. Hopefully you guys learned something here. I don't even remember everything we did because it doesn't matter, but we did it and it's going to work. It's going to be fantastic, and that's all that matters. But more importantly than all of that, what matters is that you're subscribed. So please make sure you're subscribed down below. Make sure you like the video. Leave us a comment. Tell us how stupid we are or how amazing we are. I don't care. Either way, just leave us a comment. Let us know you're there. And when you leave the comment, make sure you're subscribed. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming along on this journey with us on swapping out the rear axle on this 2000 and something, 2003 Jeep Grand Cherokee. And we should be ready to rock and roll. Matter of fact, the customer just called me and said, hey dude, I had a catastrophic failure on one of my vehicles. And he says, but it's not one you did. He just blew the engine on his Ford. So now we're going to be doing an engine swap on his Ford. We got cars lined up, guys. We got a Toyota to get in here next. I know, it seems like we're doing a lot of Toyotas lately. My whole front yard is nothing but Hyundai and Toyota right now. I don't know, it's kind of interesting. All the Hyundais work, the Toyotas are having problems. Imagine that. Anywho, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And yeah, that's all. I mean, put wheels and tires back on, bleed the brakes. You guys know how to do all that. So, love you guys. Appreciate you all. And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.